not so sure how much rhythm Lesnar has.
Oh my God. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, and turn on those notifications. And once you're done, leave a comment down below and I just might end up responding. Technically, both Tyson Fury and Cain Velasquez belong on this list. But I'm only talking wrestlers today. Real, actual, professional wrestlers who deserve their current spot. That's gonna get ironic pretty quickly, but I digress. You saw the title, let's start talking that money. I'm D Wicked from Watch WWE, and here's 10 reasons why I have depression. Number 10. Braun Strowman. While 2019 wasn't exactly the greatest year for Braun Strowman, he was still successful and popular enough to nab the number 10 spot on the list. No thanks in small part to ending the fiscal year by winning the Universal Championship. Braun comes in at just under the $2 million mark, missing it by $100,000, and to be honest, a little surprising. Keep in mind, a year ago, Braun's big feud for WrestleMania was against Saturday Night Live. Colin Jost and Michael Shea versus Braun Strowman. I want to die. The rest of that gap didn't have much either. Forgettable tag team and intercontinental title reigns aren't worth millions of dollars. Neither is a feud with Bobby Lashley. Neither is losing to Seth Rollins. Neither is fighting Tyson Fury at Saudi Arabia. Wait. Oh, I think I get why he's making the list now.
Right here is proof that you can achieve anything if you put your mind to it.
Number 9, Stephanie McMahon. Hey, Steph. So why do I disqualify a Tyson Fury or a Cain Velasquez on the basis that they aren't wrestlers when I've just allowed Stephanie McMahon onto the list? Because I'm a liar. In all honesty, it's because I don't like the fact that my favorite wrestler of all time, CM Punk, was able to just pass the ranks and so casually join the top tier of mixed martial arts, the UFC, without any prior experience in the field, and I don't think that either Tyson or Cain should have been able to do the reverse. I might be a little iffy on whether or not Stephanie really deserves an entire $2 million paycheck at the end of the year, but at least all the work she's done over the last 20 plus years has been for the WWE. Plus, she has technically wrestled multiple more times than these two combined, so what the hell, put her at the number 9 spot. Number 8, Shane McMahon. Okay, well, normally this would upset me a bit more than it is right now, but throughout the last 365, Shane McMahon was undeniably a professional wrestler, according to Shane McMahon. Yeah, he's pretty much in the same boat as Cain and Tyson in many ways. I'll give him a lot more leeway since not only has he been working for the WWE for many accumulative years, but he's also probably WWE's all-time greatest stuntman and has no problem killing himself annually just for Vince to drink some holy water and revive his son or some spooky Papa Shango. Wow, that got away from me. But regardless of how hard Shane tried to make us believe he was a real professional wrestler, we were still forced through boring bouts with a man who did not know how to wrestle. Despite this, Shane still pulled in an impressive $2.1 million, earning $100,000 more than his sister and proving that the wage gap exists even among billionaires.
Here comes the money! Here we go!
Number 7, Goldberg. Wow, that's upsetting. Not only did Bill Goldberg step into Saudi Arabia and commit one of the most heinous crimes ever seen in a WWE ring, he got paid enough money in that alone to make it onto this list. No, I'm serious. Of the 3 million bills pulling away this year, a staggering 2 million, 2/3 of it, all came from about 3 minutes of action having about 17 pairs of quotation marks around it. I don't blame Goldberg. You would be impressively stupid to say no to that kind of offer, but still, what a shame that was. Thank God we still ended up with a Firefly Funhouse and Bray jumping right back into that title picture.
Two men who could not be any different.
It could be it! It could be it!
Cover! And the Fiend got the shoulder up. He kicked out.
Number 6, Becky Lynch. After 3 straight entries that raised my blood pressure, to be quite fair, I finally have an entry that genuinely puts a smile on my face. I'm almost positive that, barring Stephanie McMahon, there's never been a female talent that's made a highest paid WWE superstars list. Hell, I remember back when I was researching it the first year I worked here back in 2016, and the reports were telling me that Sasha Banks was making $100,000 total. What? That is absurd, but thankfully the women are faring off a little bit better these days, and Becky is the spearhead of that motion. In all honesty, she was the single biggest star of 2019, easily the most popular at least. The man was dominantly holding her Raw Women's Championship all throughout the entirety of the last year, winning it at WrestleMania 35, beating Ronda Rousey, who was undefeated, and somewhat shockingly retaining it at WrestleMania 36 against Shayna Baszler, who was borderline undefeated. And that reign atop the women's division has earned her more than a respectable $3.1 million. Yeah, you, Goldberg.
I can't comprehend it. I just achieved all my dreams. I did what I said that I would do, and the people, 80,000 people here.
Number 5, Triple H, and back to the disappointment trip we go. Nah, Triple H, he does plenty of good for WWE. Don't get me wrong. He does enough to warrant his positioning in the top half of this list. It's just, as a professional wrestler, I never want to see him again. Let's just list off all of Triple H's matches in reverse chronological order for a short while, shall we? Just to test. You got Triple H versus Randy Orton in Saudi last year for some reason. Triple H versus Batista in WrestleMania 35's literal longest match. Oh, here's a good one. D-Generation X versus the Brothers of Destruction, another Saudi classic. Before that, Triple H rekindled his feud with Just Taker at yet another Saudi and scored the pair's lowest match rating of all time. I think you see where I'm going here. Barring a Seth Rollins match on a Ronda Rousey debut, the game hasn't had a good game since his reign with the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, and I forget that he held that belt within the last half a decade. But listen, you probably do deserve to earn $3.3 million. I just wish it wasn't involving your in-ring career.
How the hell is Triple H doing this match? Ambrose eliminated! Triple H is a 14-time WWE.
Number 4, Seth Rollins. Appropriate for Rollins to place in the number 4 position, as that's exactly how many millions he's adding to his bank account this year. And unlike the in-ring career of our last entrant, Seth Rollins at least makes some sort of sense. Last year's Mania, he was busy dethroning Brock Lesnar of the Universal Championship in the opening match before opening his mouth too many times and making everybody hate him. Yeah, he really didn't have the greatest of reigns with that poorly utilized, then still jam belt. I'm sure his feud with AJ was great, but I honestly don't remember it. Same, unfortunately, cannot be said with his feud against Baron Corbin and the awful nonsense that went down with these two, Becky Lynch and Lacey Evans. He'd then lose to Brock, beat Brock again, beat Braun despite being tag champs with him, and then have the worst Hell in a Cell match in the history of WWE, and that includes the one where Undertaker hung a man from the top of the cage. I'm like halfway through the year and I'm just going to move on.
And now no! It's where the stop.
Number 3, Randy Orton. Randall Keith is proof incarnate that you can earn ridiculous amounts of money from having been a huge star many years ago. There's no denying the incredible evolution and undeniable legacy of Randy Orton, but What has he done over the last year? There's probably some of you who genuinely couldn't answer that question because the majority of what he did was pretty forgettable. Here's the highlights. After losing to AJ Styles last WrestleMania, Orton didn't really show up again until July when he feuded with Kofi Kingston over the WWE title, which should be notable as their feud a decade prior was one of the highlights of the year, but this continued rivalry lasted until September and is only really memorable for one moment, Kofi yelling stupid at an unconscious Viper. Barring that, a short feud with Ricochet and joining Team Flair for a Saudi, the man did nothing until kickstarting the Edge feud, and he got $4.1 million for it.
Yo! Whoa! McIntyre with a... Whoa! What? Randy Orton!
Number 2, Roman Reigns. The hand-picked defining superstar of WWE's modern era. It should come as a shock to absolutely zero people that now that John Cena isn't a full-time roster member anymore, his old number 2 spot has finally been claimed by the big dog. Being the favorite wrestler of Vincent Kennedy McMahon for 6 years has certainly helped raise Roman's stock, no matter how many of those years were insufferable to watch live every week. Well, I've started looking over everyone's years. Why not check Roman's? The superstar shakeup landed him on SmackDown, which, I'm not making this up, was called the single greatest acquisition in SmackDown history. Don't forget that. It was a bold claim, but it was only 2 months after, not even since he'd returned from leukemia, he was still a hot babyface again. So let's see how you're going to prove that right, WWE. A 3-month Shane McMahon feud, a 4-month whodunit murder mystery storyline featuring Daniel Bryan and Eric Rowan, a 17-year King Corbin feud, and then he walked up to Goldberg and said, "I'm next." And then he wasn't next. Sounds like a $5 million year to me, too.
Oh! McIntyre nearly put through the wall. And put through a table.
And number 1, Brock Lesnar. $10 million. He just doubled the second highest paid man by virtue of being named Brock Lesnar. You know what? Honestly, I'll give him this. His year was at least like 3 times better than Roman's. Sure. He murdered a Kofi in 6 months of championship success in about 5 seconds. Yeah, we had to watch him try an MMA fight Cain Velasquez. Okay, maybe he stole the Money in the Bank contract from one of the most intriguing field of contenders yet. But hey, we did get Boom Brock. And those are the 10 highest paid WWE superstars of 2020. What are your thoughts? Let us know in the comments down below. If you like the video, subscribe to the channel and notifications, and that bell.